guys, Gons here for the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. CERN is back in the news. Headlines, top of the trending list. CERN LHC experiment reports observation of exotic Pentaquark particles. And the way it is described is, quote, "The Pentaquark is not just any new particle," said LHCb spokesperson Guy Wilkinson. "It represents a way to aggregate quarks, namely the fundamental constituents of ordinary protons and neutrons, in a pattern that has never been observed before in over 50 years of experimental searches. Studying its properties may allow us to understand better how ordinary matter, the protons and neutrons from which we are all made, is constituted." So it's just a smaller construct, it seems like, of the proton and neutron. Theoretically, this has already existed. They've just been able to observe it. What I find interesting is that the illustration of the possible layout of the quarks in a pentaquark particle is that there are 5 quarks which are tightly bonded, and they might also assemble into a meson, or M-E-S-O-N, meson, something like that, where one quark and one antiquark and a baryon, or 3 quark, are weakly bound together. And they're not sure which one's which, but in either case, the pentaquark is where 5 quarks are tightly bound together. Now, obviously, what's interesting here is the connection to the pentagram. And even if you look at the illustration here, you see that star-shaped figure within the particle here. And I'm not suggesting that I know for sure that there is any significance to that, but isn't it very interesting that in Thelema, there is something called the Greater Ritual of the Pentagram. And if you look at this, it's in the Book of Magic, Book 4, and it begins with the Kabbalistic cross, which you start with the touch of the forehead, then the touch of the heart, right shoulder, left shoulder, and then clasp the hands upon the breast. And there are different things you're supposed to say at each of these positions. Then you face east, and you invoke the pentagram spirit, and you make the sign of a portal, and you make the invoking pentagram of air and vibrate, and there's this whole involved process with the whole ritual. This was originally taught by the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn as a banishing ritual. And the banishing ritual is actually a magical ritual that was to cleanse an area and, to banish whatever space you're in so that you can perform even greater rituals. And so again, I don't know if there's any significance or connection here, but I do find it very interesting that the description of this alleged particle discovery is 5 quarks lined up together in a pentagram shape. And the collisions continue here at 13 tera electron volts, and we'll see what other news comes out of CERN. But I haven't done a CERN watch in a while. This one's pretty brief. I just wanted to report on that discovery that's all over the place and just connect it to that whole pentagram ritual that has been part of the occult for a very long time. And again, I'll leave links in the description section there to let you guys do your own research. Now, one last thing before I go here, the pentagram ritual. The pentagram consists of 5 elements: earth, air, water, fire, and spirit. And what I find interesting is that biblically, there is a prerogative from Colossians 2:8. Let me read for you 2:8 and then also 2:20. Colossians 2:8. "See to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy and empty deceit, according to human tradition, according to the elemental spirits of the world, and not according to Christ." Elemental spirits of the world. Doesn't this sound like what the pentagram represents? The elements: earth, air, water, fire, and spirit. And then in Colossians 2:20, "If with Christ you died to the elemental spirits of the world, why, as if you were still alive in the world, do you submit to regulations?" And this is a section that talks about freedom from human rules and how we are reborn in the spirit. And so the elemental spirits of the world, these are things that are referring to the stuff that is perishing and the stuff that's according to human precepts and teaching. And what is the pentagram ritual? It's a human precept and teaching. And it says in verse 23, "These have indeed an appearance of wisdom in promoting self-made religion and asceticism in severity to the body, but they are of no value in stopping the indulgence of the flesh." So the spirit that is behind these aspects, earth, air, water, fire, and spirit, that spirit there, in conjunction with these 5 elements together, the pentagram is of the world. And these rituals are the traditions of men, and they don't free us. They don't bring truth. They don't bring salvation the way that Christ did, because he died to these elements. And we are born again from the Spirit, those of us who are saved in Jesus Christ. So interesting stuff here from CERN. And just as one last note, let me clarify one thing here. Anthony Patch did go underground in terms of talking about CERN. There was a article that was published that suggested that he may have been wiped out. And I contacted Anthony, and he is doing well. And he said, quote, "The reports of my death are greatly exaggerated." So he's alive, he's doing well, but he is sort of backing off on the whole CERN thing. I don't know exactly what happened in terms of, who talked to him, who got to him, whatever, but he definitely hit on some stuff that I think made some folks uneasy. So there you have it. CERN Watch. The Pentaquark is discovered and announced, and some biblical passages that seem to deny the elemental spirits that seem to be behind all of this. So hope you guys have a great day. God bless.